Lucid dreaming. So, a few weeks ago on the Facebook group, Lightwork for Lightworkers, I posed a question to everybody and asked, hey, I'm writing this book and my brain is otherwise turned to mush, so I'm out of ideas. You guys give me some ideas to make videos. Because, in case you guys haven't noticed, all I need is one little idea and I can blab for a significant portion of time. The only thing that really stops me from talking is tooth pain on occasion. But when Katie asked about lucid dreaming, my first thought was, shit. Because I share, I'm honest, I share my stories. So how am I going to talk about lucid dreaming without outing myself? What do I mean? Lucid dreaming is when you know you're dreaming and you're able to control your dreams. You're able to manipulate them in real time while you're dreaming. You might be standing in your, this is a lousy example, but you're standing in your kitchen and you want to instantly be transported to your bedroom and you just go there. You can bring certain people to your dream. You can, the better you get at it, the longer you've been doing it, you can really get good at manipulating things. Now, I'm just going to get the outing myself, I'm just going to get that part out of the way so we can talk about the rest of the story. Lucid dreaming, the ability to knowingly manipulate your dreams, is a rather inappropriate tool in the hands of a young man going through puberty. Can I leave it at that? I'm not proud. I'm not ashamed, but I'm not proud. I've done some things in my dreams as a young man, knowing that I knew what I was doing. We'll just leave it at that. So, how's that progressed now? Well, because everybody's going to ask and want to know, well, how do you do this? How do you start this off? How do you even get to the point where you can be in a dream and know what you're doing? And I'm going to give you what I know. I'm going to tell you what I know, my techniques, what works for me. Now you can go online and there's a lot of different techniques. I haven't really researched it very much. I have an aversion to research because invariably I will read something that I say is full of shit. Just looking up lucid dreaming tonight to just kind of get my brain going a little bit, I saw people were making a comparison to the movie Inception. They were saying, is it like that? Kind of yes, but pretty much no. And that part I agreed with. But then they went on to say that in the movie Inception, that it was about joining other people in their dreams, and that was not possible in reality. And it is possible in reality. Now, can you do it on purpose? I haven't pulled that off yet. But there's at least 2 times that I know of, including one recently with Karen, that I know we were in the same dream, doing the same thing. Not that. Get your mind out of the gutter. I thought about that after I said it. No, it wasn't that, right? But you can join other people in your dreams. That's the point. So I read the research. I was reading that. It's like, that's crap. I closed the laptop. I know what I'm talking about already. I know what works for me. That's what I'm going to tell you. So, for me, the first step, really, when you really want to become conscious of it, not the crap I did when I was 13 and I was astral traveling and discovering all my gifts. Okay? The first thing that I learned to do was control the subject of my dreams. And how I do that now is that I have an altar right next to the bed and I have an array of different stones, crystals, rocks that I've picked up in various locations. And there's been a couple of them that I've actually given a purpose to, given an energy to. But overwhelmingly, what I've allowed to do is just have them tell me, what's my purpose? I have rocks to block the dreams out. I have stones that will intensify things significantly. I have ones that are for truth. I have ones when I want to have a nightmare. If you want to have a nightmare, I mean, it sounds odd, but sometimes I enjoy a good scare, and especially I enjoy doing that in the lucid state. So the first step is to be able to control your dreams. So control the subject of your dreams. Now I use the tools that way. I will stand in front of my altar before bed. Most times I stand there and my guides will tell me what to pull out, and I put it under my pillow. So, sometimes during the day I'll get an idea of what I want to do, and I'll know what stone I want to use, and then they'll have me use all sorts of different combinations of things. Like if I want to have a nightmare, but I want to make sure that there's no negative energies coming in, I'll use a different stone. So there's all sorts of combinations that I use. Now this didn't exactly happen overnight. To develop that ability, definitely I would choose 2 stones. And I would, with whatever ritual that you do, everybody's got a different way that they put their energy into something. I would pick 2 stones and experiment with putting in an energy into that stone, putting it under your pillow at night, and seeing what you get. Okay? Now I know there will be people that will say, charge it under the full moon, or charge it under the sun, put it in salt water. These are all fine ideas. I have found that if you do it right, or I should say if you do it at the right time, that will intensify the properties of the stone. It absolutely does work. I have found that I don't care for the intensification. I have found that, especially if I charge things in the moon, that the intensification will actually carry over for too many nights. So like if I put the stone out in the full moon, this is a stone I use when I don't want to have dreams at all. Okay, if I put that out in the full moon, what I will find is I'll put it on my pillow that night. I'll definitely not have any dreams. But then 3, 4, 5 nights in a row after that, when I'm using other stones, the dreams that I have will be very, very short, muted, not exactly my norm, because the power of that stone where I block the dreams is so strong from having been put out in the moon. So I use that very, very sparingly. I haven't done that one in a while. Mainly because I haven't felt the need to significantly amplify anything. I'm pretty good and well tapped in, and I pretty much get what I want. But for a beginner, if you pick a stone and you say you want to have, this is the stone when you want to be able to visit your loved ones who have passed on. Let's pick that as the subject, right? And you put it under your pillow, and you're not quite getting the results that you want, then that's something that maybe, okay, I wouldn't put that under the full moon, because then you might get a room full of spirits. Okay, I maybe put it, test it out, quarter moon. All right, just gonna put it out there for a couple of hours, not the whole night. Bring it back in, put it on your pillow, and see if you've amplified things at all. So the reason I say start with 2 stones is because if you only start with 1, that's what's going to definitely be in your consciousness, and it's going to sort of affect the experiment. So you want to have it 2 different stones. so that you can put in different properties into each stone, so that you can kind of flip back and forth, and it gives you a little bit more of an accurate portrayal of the differences in between, what you're really putting into the stone and how much of it is, your conscious, the subconscious. So that could take some time to develop. That definitely took me probably 5, 6 purposeful years of practice before I got to the point where there was no doubt in my mind. It's like, that stone will do this. I put it on my pillow, and this is what I know was going to happen tonight. So I know that you might prefer a solution that doesn't take 5 or 6 years. It did take me that long because I have such an array, and I go for so many different things. Before I got to that point, I was able to pretty much have, I definitely had a stone that there were no dreams, nightmare dreams, and then one that I would basically use for almost like I needed an aid to just have normal dreams. So it is possible to get that skill together for yourself sooner than 5 or 6 years, but for the number of different things that I attempt to dream and that I attempt to do, and then different numbers of stones that I have, it took quite some time. It's not going to happen in a week or two. So if you're going to actually try to do it, be willing and ready to put in the work, and don't get discouraged after, because there will be mistakes. You will make mistakes while you're doing this, and you're going to get things that you're going to have points in time where you're not getting anything, and then all of a sudden you're going to get way too intense. And it takes a while to really be able to get to the balance. So, what I would suggest as a beginner is, once you get good with those 2 stones, then start to get to your specifics. So what I mean by that is, let's say that you have a stone that you've picked, and this is the stone where, when you sleep with this stone under your pillow, you can travel anywhere on the planet. Okay? And so you've been able to visit all these different locations. And now you want to start getting specific, right? So you start, before you go to bed, while you're laying there in bed, those last 2 or 3 minutes before you completely are out, start focusing on the exact specific location that you want to go to. Okay? It could be somebody's house, it could be a beach somewhere, whatever it is, focus in on that location. What will begin to happen is, and again, it is a slow process, but what will begin to happen is when you start dreaming and you get to that location, it will spur you to realize, I'm dreaming, I know I'm dreaming. And then the dream will probably take on normal characteristics. But the more that you do that, and the more that you recognize that, you'll get to the point where, when you fall asleep, you're immediately in the location that you want to be, and you're like, now I know I'm dreaming. All right, this is what I want to have happen. And you will begin to be able to create whatever you want to have happen inside of the dream. So it does take some time. And as you grow into it, myself, the way I'm designed, I am an experienced type of person. So I am not concerned at all about making mistakes. It doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but for me, the more mistakes, the more I learn. So let's do this. I want to just do it all. I want to do everything and see what the hell I learn from it, because that's what we're here to do. It's my opinion anyway. So I have experimented greatly, probably more than most people would even attempt to do, with the intensity of the lucid dreaming. And like I said, I have stones that I know this is going to give me a nightmare. Okay? but I can control it. I can get there and know that I'm dreaming, and I can manipulate things to the point where, let's use the analogy of, you're driving on the bridge and you crash and you go off the bridge and you're falling. Okay? Now most of us will want to wake up before we hit, because we're going to die. I mean, that's what they say, right? If you die, you die. I don't necessarily buy into that, though I'm sure it's probably happened to some people, but we won't know, because when you're dead, you can't tell anybody, I was dreaming that I died, so we don't know, okay? So, but in the context of lucid dreaming, I can know that as I'm falling, I can be like, all right, when I fall, I'm going to hit, and I'm going to be playing golf. Because I know I'm dreaming, I'm going to just change this, and when I fall, I'm just going to just land softly and start playing golf. That's an analogy, it's an example, but that's the type of control that you have when you get good enough at it. So you don't have to be afraid of having a nightmare. You can sort of live vicariously through the nightmare, and then when it gets to be too much, you change the channel. Okay? I don't recommend that as a beginning technique, though. All right? I want to be clear here. Okay? Number one, you have to be experienced to do that. Number two, you have to make sure that you have your protection stones around you. Okay? Obsidian. All right? I've got bricks, huge chunks of obsidian surrounding. Make sure that you can stay clean. Okay? And you'll get, when you start getting more and more experience with things, you'll learn the difference. You'll be able to know when something comes into your dream that's unwelcome, and it's not difficult to get rid of them if you're doing it in incremental experiences. You don't want to just be like, don't start, and then like 3 weeks later think, well, last night I wanted to go fishing, I went fishing, so tonight let's go for a nightmare. Don't do that to yourself, okay? You won't be able to control it the way you think. It takes a long time, because you have to have had the multiple experiences of having controlled things during a regular dream, during a dream that's not a nightmare, okay? You have to have the experience and that knowing. You have to know. You can't have a little bit of fear, because if you start having fear, then you're not really lucid dreaming so much anymore, because now you're unsure. Okay? So you have to have the experience of being able to manipulate the dream to where it's like, yeah, I'm falling off the bridge, but watch, I'm going to land and play golf. And it turns into a game of sorts. But that's advanced stuff. I got to be clear there. I don't want anybody coming to me in 2 weeks and telling me that because look, we're playing with energy here, okay? We're playing with energy, we're playing with our spirit, and if you don't take the proper time to learn, if you're coming at it in any way, if you've got a fear, let me be clear with that too. Do not attempt to lucid dream something that you're afraid of. Okay? I would never attempt to lucid dream that I was being attacked by a shark, or I was swimming in the water, where I was dropped off in the middle of the ocean. I would never attempt to do that, even with the level of experience that I have. So don't ever try to use lucid dreaming to get over the fear of something. That is just an invitation for negative entities, I promise you. Okay? You are not going to get over your fear in that manner. So let's be clear there. I'm glad I thought about that, because I wanted to make sure that point gets made. So, got your 2 stones. You've put their meaning into it, and you're starting to get to the point where you can pretty much control the topic of your dream. Okay? So, as you get good at that, all right, then you start trying to control, like I said, the location. And then as you get good with that and you start to instantly recognize where you are, then you start practicing on manipulating things. And then you can grow into different subjects. Okay? But it will take some time. So, What are some of the benefits? Think about that. There's a tremendous sense of freedom that comes. I think more than anything, there's a tremendous sense of freedom because, and especially now, the way our world is, the way our lives are, with all the restrictions, regardless of how good you have it. I mean, somebody could be sitting here and have plenty of money, but you still got to work pretty damn hard for it. You're still tied to that work to keep that money. We are all tied to the things that we have to do and the things that we don't have control over. It's inevitable. You don't have to make any wrong decisions in life to be tied to that. So, for me, lucid dreaming is an escape, but you're getting to play with reality. And what it has done for me is the confidence transfers over to the physical. And what I mean is that obviously I don't think that I can jump off the bridge and land on a golf course unless I jump off a bridge that's over a golf course, okay? I'm not going to go jump off the bridge and as I'm diving head first go, I'm going to land on a golf course. I know it because it's not, I'm fairly certain that's not what's going to happen. When I get knocked unconscious, I might think I'm on a golf course, but that's a different subject. So, but the confidence will carry over. When you're able to get good enough to where you can find yourself in difficult situations and you know how to get yourself out of them inside of the dream, and you wake up and you're like, that was cool, I overcame that. That was so awesome. I wasn't afraid and I overcame. That dynamic will transfer over to the real life. You don't want to get carried away with it, like I said, but at the same time, you start to develop that ability when things start coming at you in the real life, it will transfer over and you will feel, I'm not going to be afraid, I can figure this out, and it's going to turn out all right. And that has really led me down a lot of roads that have ended up in success for me. That it's almost an unnatural confidence, because somebody might look at you and be like, how can you be so confident? Why are you so sure that it's just going to work out? It might not always be because they have that experience in the real world. When you really get good at lucid dreaming, it carries over. It absolutely has a benefit. And so if you're interested in developing it to the point where you are feeling that specific benefit, I would not be too concerned about getting into the deeper stuff like I've talked about, like controlling nightmares and everything like that. Maybe play with the specific subject that you're looking to fix in the real world. So let's say in the real world you have significant relationship dynamics, issues, okay? Fighting with your spouse, parents, whatever, all right? You know, the same thing keeps happening over and over again. You get good at lucid dreaming, even if you just pick that one subject and keep pounding it, and keep going in and going in and going in, you're going to get to the point where as soon as you enter the dream, you know it. You know where you are. You're like, all right, I got this time. And you keep experimenting with changing your reactions, changing your tone, changing how you're talking. See, because the other people, you can get them to do what you want, but that's not why you're here. You want them to continue to act the way that they're going to act in the real world. Because in the real world, you can't change, really, how they're going to act. But inside of the dream, you can change how you're going to act and keep experimenting with it with no consequences until you figure it out. until you get to the point where it's like, well, this is the action I took, and they were totally okay with it, and we didn't fight. And then you bring that experience to the real world. It does work. There is carryover. I firmly believe that that's part of the reason why we have that ability. And I think that this is a totally just off the cuff guess, but I would venture a guess that many people develop the ability to lucid dream because they've been under significant stress or duress, and they develop that ability as some sort of way to cope and to figure things out without even really realizing that that's what they're doing. So, now, back to what I outed myself about. Be careful. This is not a toy. We don't know 100% exactly what that mechanism is. We don't. Playing with it to learn how to better interact with people, to gain more confidence, you know, put yourself in a sports situation you'd never be able to be in real life, and experience successes that have escaped you. Okay. But don't use it for sexual purposes. Okay? It's not right, because you're still dealing with real beings. You can't make up you could try to make up a person that doesn't exist, but there's going to be pieces of people that you know that are going to be part of that person. And there's going to be an energy behind it. You're going to be thinking, well, if I can figure out how to make this person do this in the dream, maybe I can make them do that in the real world. Maybe. But, like the line from Jurassic Park, they spent so much time thinking about whether or not they could, they forgot to consider if they should. So, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody what they can and cannot, should, but I don't recommend it. It's a temptation. Because it is possible to lucid dream and get your needs met. Okay? Just leave it at that. But I don't recommend it. I think it's clearly a doorway for negative energy, and I think that's enough about that. I don't think anybody watching this is really going to be thinking that's what they're going to use it for. But I'll give that speech so that if anybody ends up letting anybody else know about lucid dreaming, go ahead and pass on that little tidbit, that little warning. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. You know it's not right. Okay? Don't do it. So, the last thing about it is it can become addicting. Take breaks from it. I never really got to the point where I completely lost touch with reality. But too much anything is not good. And that carryover, the confidence, the feeling of I can maneuver myself out of any situation, that is a good dynamic to have. It is good to have that level of confidence. But you can overdo it. Okay? You can definitely get to a point where you get to the bed and you're so ready to go off into your other world that you don't really have interest in paying attention to the person who's laying next to you. Now, if you're single, that's a little bit of a different dynamic, okay? But in that case, And this is not something I personally had happen, but again, I would venture a guess, if you're living by yourself and you start using the lucid dreaming as a sort of replacement for relationship, that could lead to all sorts of problems. Number one, it could lead to unrealistic expectations on whoever you mate, on whoever you would meet. And number two, you might get so addicted to the power of the lucid dreaming that you might end up starting to want to take things to make you go to sleep for longer periods of time. And then next thing you know, you're addicted to sleeping pills because you're addicted to the feeling you get when you sleep and you just want to sleep. Now, that didn't happen to me. I've not looked online to see if that's happened to anybody. It's just one of those things that popped up into my consciousness to say, just be careful. If you want to begin to experiment with lucid dreaming, start slow, start with little things. Now, if you're already someone who's been able to do it here or there on accident, I definitely recommend picking up a couple of stones somewhere. It doesn't have to be anything particular. You don't have to go to the crystal store and spend $100. Go to the beach. Look, walk. I like that rock. That's it. Okay? It's free. Go to the park. Go to the beach. Go take a shovel to your yard. You'll find a rock. It's got some kind of property to it. Okay? And if you see it and Spirit tells you that's the one, then you pick it up. It's for you. And if you don't like it, you don't pick it up. You don't have to go, this is free. Okay? You don't have to go spend a bunch of money. So, main thing with it is just have fun with it. Absolutely have fun with it. Enjoy it. Experiment with it. But like anything else, and especially, just take it really slow. Be careful. Be very self-aware of how it is affecting you in the real world. Because when you get good at it, it is powerful. It doesn't play around. It just doesn't. And stay protected. I cannot stress that enough. If you are having trouble staying protected while lucid dreaming, stop lucid dreaming. End of discussion. Doesn't mean you can't pick it up at another time when you're in a different space, but you're opening up doors. You are opening up doors. And if you're having trouble, whether it be in the dreams or in the real world, if you start to notice that you're getting a sense that you might have let something in the door, stop. Just don't even play around with it, because you probably have. And you're going to need to take care of that situation before you even think about going back into that door. And then when you do a checkup on your intent. Do a checkup on, why are you wanting to do this? What is your goal? What is it that you want to bring into the real world with you that you're going there to get? Is it just simply an escape? Are you going to try to pick up extra confidence? Is it just a thrill? It's like a thrill ride, like the nightmare thing. You know what I mean? I can have a thrill ride, but I've been doing it a long time. It's not a perfect science. There's times on occasion when I will end it because I'm like, yeah, this is even getting uncomfortable for me. Because the Spirit will naturally push the boundaries. Spirit's not interested in doing the same thing over and over and over again. Okay? You make it through one level, it's going to up you to the next level, just like in the real world, right? So, enjoy it. Be careful with it. And the last thing I'll say is, especially if you're starting new with it, don't keep it to yourself. Have somebody that you trust, that you can be in a natural conversation with over the time that you're learning to do it and the time that you're experimenting with it. Keep a dream journal. Absolutely. Keep a dream journal. Not everybody. For me, I'll be honest, I never did, because the way my brain works, I just don't forget that stuff. I just never did. But it's recommended that even if you don't want to write, when you wake up, do a voice, talk to text, something to document whatever it is that you may or may not remember. And just have somebody that you keep in contact with so that you can tell them what's happening, what you like, what you don't like, the sense that you're getting, and maybe have that person that you're sharing it with be somebody who's a little bit intuitive, a little bit connected in, so they can kind of give you an idea of how they think it feels to them, the sense that they're getting of things. And that will kind of keep you grounded a little bit in the reality, because that definitely, it's a hell of a fun ride. It is a temptation. I wouldn't say don't use it for entertainment purposes, because that would be hypocritical, but if you're going to use it for entertainment purposes, make sure you know what you're doing and that you're protected. That's it. All right. I hope that helped. I hope you guys found that enjoyable, educational, spiritual, sexual, all those. Just I hope you liked it. So thank you all for watching. And if anybody has any new ideas for new videos, lightwork4lightworkers.com. That's the website. The Facebook group is Lightwork for Lightworkers. But you can go to the website too. All right? Check that out. Learn about the work that I do with my partner Karen. I'm a medium. I'm an intuitive. I do readings. I make videos. We've got Patreon set up. We've got a few people over there. I do daily channel energy readings over there on Patreon. A bunch of other things. I tell life stories about like the time the other day on Christmas. I told a story about how my brother got caught shoplifting. I don't know where you're going to get that kind of entertainment. Who else is going to tell that story? Eventually, if I can get with the lawyers and get the statute of limitations cleared up, I can tell the story about how I robbed a casino every year for 7 years. But right now, as far as anybody else is watching, FBI, that's just hearsay. That never happened. Unless it did. So, thank you all for watching. I'll see you again in the next video.